In the previous episode, we saw Elizabeth wrap her arms around Leping's neck, gazing into his eyes with a soft yet passionate expression. She told him not to be distracted by anything else. Right now, it's just the two of us. No one is going to disturb us anymore. Up next, as their lips drew closer, the moment deepened into a kiss. Her eyes gently closed, and his presence pulled her in. She wrapped her arms around him, holding him tightly, unwilling to let go. Just as the two were lost in the moment, the door suddenly slammed open with a loud bang. Annie stood in the doorway, frozen in shock, broom in hand. Startled, both of them jumped apart, their faces flushed red as they let out a surprised cry. Annie's eyes lit up with joy as she spotted them. With a bright smile, she greeted warmly, "Brother Leping, Sister Elizabeth, you've arrived." Leping cleared his throat awkwardly, his face flushed with embarrassment. He asked Annie why she was in their room. Annie tilted her head innocently, broom still in hand. She explained that since she didn't really understand much about construction, she figured she could at least help by cleaning their room. She was just tidying up the bathroom. Leping looked at Elizabeth nervously and told Annie that wouldn't be necessary. From now on, he would handle the cleaning himself. Annie glanced nervously at the bed, her brows furrowing as she spoke. "The bed's already a bit messy, but since you two haven't slept yet, I guess it must not be to your liking." Lowering her gaze, she apologized to Leping for not trying her best to imitate his stitching techniques when making the bedding. She asked if he was unhappy with it and said she would redo everything right away. Leping quickly raised his hands, trying to calm the situation, and told Annie there was no need for that. Her stitching was excellent. It was just a little inconvenient, that's all. But before he could finish, Elizabeth's voice cut through the room, sharp and commanding. Both Leping and Annie froze in shock, their eyes widening as if struck by lightning. Leping stumbled back nervously, while Annie clutched her broom tightly, trembling under the sudden intensity. Elizabeth's expression darkened as she loomed over them, her voice sharp and filled with frustration. "Are you done yet? How many times do we have to repeat this kind of scene? Isn't it boring already?" Leping stood frozen, a bead of sweat rolling down his cheek as he struggled to find a response under her intimidating presence. Annie clutched her broom tightly, her wide eyes shimmering with confusion and unease. She told Elizabeth that she didn't really understand. Had she done something wrong? Elizabeth's eyes glowed with a dangerous intensity as her long fingers tightened on Annie's head. Her voice was cold yet commanding. "So, you want a reward, do you? For something this trivial, there's no need for Leping to personally guide you. I, the Queen, can give it to you myself." With a surge of overwhelming power, crimson energy erupted around Elizabeth, filling the entire room with a blinding glow. Her voice echoed like a decree from the abyss itself as she unleashed her spell. Abyssal gift. Annie trembled within the swirling vortex of demonic power, while Leping stood frozen in shock, his heart pounding at the terrifying display of the Demon Queen's might. Annie let out a blood-curdling scream as the demonic energy consumed her, her body trembling violently within the crimson bindings. Her face twisted in agony, glasses cracking under the sheer force of the magic. Meanwhile, Leping's eyes widened in shock, his voice trembling as he looked at the scene before him and asked Elizabeth if Annie was going to be okay. The dark energy swirled violently around Annie as her body transformed. Her once gentle eyes now glowed a sinister crimson, horns sprouting from her head, while a demonic tail unfurled behind her. The mark of her lineage revealed itself. Jamuji bloodline, complete awakening. Her breaths came heavy and uneven, a dangerous aura radiating from her very being. Annie, the timid maid, had vanished, replaced by a demon awakened. Leping stared at Annie in shock, his voice unsteady. "Are you all right?" His mind raced as he tried to process what he had just witnessed. She had actually helped Annie evolve? That was unbelievable. Elizabeth's gaze was firm, her voice carrying the weight of command. She told Annie that she had awakened all the power within her bloodline. From here on, it was up to her to learn how to control it. Annie's eyes trembled as she looked up at her. "Sister Elizabeth, she whispered, uncertain and overwhelmed by the sudden transformation. But before she could finish, a sudden tap landed on her leg. A finger pressed against her skin, sending a ripple of energy through her transformed body. Annie hurled her staff forward, demonic energy crackling as it tore through the air with a sharp whoosh. Elizabeth raised her hand, crimson power radiating from her fingertips as she intercepted the strike. Her voice rang out, firm and commanding. "Enough talk! Move!" In the next moment, Annie lunged forward with all her strength, her staff glowing with crimson energy as she swung it down in a fierce strike. Her eyes burned with determination, red irises shining behind her glasses. Elizabeth lowered her hand, her long crimson hair swaying behind her. A faint smile touched her lips as she let out a sigh of relief. Finally, peace and quiet. Elizabeth slowly turned, her crimson hair flowing like a storm behind her. Her eyes glowed with a menacing red light as dark energy coiled around her form. Her gaze locked onto her next target, and her chilling voice cut through the air. "It's your turn." Elizabeth's crimson hair flowed behind her as she advanced step by step, her presence pressing down like an unstoppable wave. Leping's face paled, his legs trembling as he instinctively staggered backward. A nervous laugh escaped him as he raised his hands in panic and asked Elizabeth to wait, begging her not to be impulsive. Elizabeth's steps echoed sharply against the wooden floor as she closed the distance, her crimson hair trailing like a burning flame. Leping instinctively staggered backward, fear evident in his trembling movements. Elizabeth's crimson hair flared wildly as an ominous aura burst forth, filling the room with suffocating pressure. Her glowing eyes locked onto her prey, her voice echoing with both fury and anticipation. "Impulsive? Do you even realize how long I've been waiting for this moment?" She extended her hand forward, pushing Leping back. With a sudden shove, Leping was thrown backward, crashing onto the bed with a heavy thud. Rose petals scattered across the sheets as his body sank into the soft bedding, his wide golden eyes flashing with shock. His back pressed against the sheets. Leping's throat tightened as he swallowed hard, a faint gulp escaping him. A nervous bead of sweat slid down his temple, his golden eyes darting upward with both panic and disbelief. Elizabeth stepped gracefully onto the bed, her long crimson hair cascading over her shoulders as she moved closer. A faint smile played on her lips as she whispered with quiet certainty, "Now, no one can possibly disturb us anymore." Elizabeth leaned over him, her long crimson hair brushing against his chest as she pressed him firmly into the sheets. Her eyes gleamed with playful dominance, her lips curving into a mischievous smile. "Stop stalling," she teased, her voice low yet commanding. "Where's the surprise you promised me?" The weight of her words left Leping frozen, his heart racing wildly as he struggled to form a response. Did Elizabeth just find out about his proposal plan? Leping's mind spun in panic, his golden eyes widening in shock as his cheeks flushed crimson. Elizabeth's cheeks flushed pink, her crimson hair cascading down her shoulders as her eyes locked onto him with fiery determination. Leaning forward, her hand pressed against his chest, pinning him in place. "I want it now," she declared, her voice both commanding and breathless, carrying the irresistible force of a queen who would not be denied. Leping's pulse quickened, his body frozen beneath her as her words crashed into him like thunder, leaving no room for escape. Elizabeth slowly leaned down, her crimson hair cascading like a silken curtain around them, brushing against his face and neck. The warmth of her breath lingered in the narrow space between them, her lips trembling as if caught between hesitation and desire. Leping's golden eyes widened, his heartbeat pounding in his chest. The closeness, the softness of her hair, and the undeniable heat radiating from her body left him frozen in place, his cheeks flushed crimson. For a brief moment, the world seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them suspended in a haze of breathless anticipation. Elizabeth's fingers slowly trailed across Leping's chest, her touch sending shivers down his body. Her crimson hair brushed against his skin as she leaned closer, her scent filling the air between them. The loose fabric around her shoulders slipped slightly, revealing the delicate curves of her form. The glow of the soft light highlighted her figure, making the moment dangerously intimate. Leping's breath quickened, his mind racing, caught between panic and a heat that only grew stronger under her closeness. Without hesitation, her lips met his, soft yet demanding, carrying both passion and authority. Leping's eyes widened for a heartbeat before closing, his resistance dissolving under her fiery touch. The world around them blurred, leaving only the closeness of their bodies, the rapid beat of their hearts, and the undeniable pull drawing them together. Leping's golden eyes widened in shock, his heart hammering in his chest as realization struck him. He was completely at her mercy, his body tensed, his mind racing, but Elizabeth's overwhelming presence left him frozen, caught between fear, disbelief, and a strange pull he couldn't resist. With a sudden breath, he managed to push back just enough to speak, his voice strained yet firm. "Not yet, Elizabeth," he said, trying to steady himself despite the warmth of her closeness. Elizabeth stayed near, her slender arms wrapped around Leping as she sat firmly on his lap, refusing to back away. Her crimson hair slid down like a veil, brushing against his chest as she leaned closer. Her eyes softened, but her words carried a tempting sharpness. "Why?" she asked, tilting her head slightly, her lips parting just enough to reveal her teasing smile. "Don't you want this, Leping?" Her voice lingered in the quiet room, testing the depths of his restraint, daring him to admit what his racing heart had already betrayed. Leping's golden eyes flickered with conflict as he looked at Elizabeth. His voice was firm yet soft, carrying both desire and restraint. "Of course I want to," he admitted honestly, "but not like this. Not in this way." He took a steadying breath, his heart racing as he continued, his gaze never leaving hers. "Everything has been moving according to plan. I want to give you a memory you'll never forget, but only after I propose to you properly, when I can stand before you as your rightful husband." His fingers tightened slightly against her waist, a mixture of longing and determination in his touch. That sacred moment was so close. For the sake of that day, just a little longer, he could endure it. Elizabeth's crimson eyes softened as she tilted her head, her lips curving into a faint, teasing smile. "You don't like it when I'm on top?" she asked with a playful blush, her voice carrying both allure and curiosity. Leaning closer, she added in a sultry tone, "I don't mind being underneath either." Leping's face flushed red as he flailed his hands in panic, his words tumbling out in a rush. "No, of course I like it when you're on top," he blurted, before immediately realizing what he had just said. His eyes widened as he waved his hands desperately, trying to correct himself. No, that's not what I meant." His frantic denial only made the moment more awkward, his heart racing wildly in his chest. Leping gently held Elizabeth's hand, his golden eyes locking with her crimson gaze. His voice trembled with both nervousness and determination as he said, "Listen to me, Elizabeth. Right now it's like we're making a cake." He spoke seriously, continuing, "If we want it to be perfect, then not a single step can go wrong. Thorough mixing, proper baking, evenly applied cream, precise decoration without a single flaw, and a finishing touch with elegance. Only then can one create the perfect cake." Right after admiring the flawless masterpiece, Leping stuffed his mouth with cream, strawberries, and bread, his cheeks bulging as he devoured everything at once. "Of course," he mumbled through a full mouth. "Some people think that once it's eaten, doesn't it all end up the same in the stomach anyway?" Leping looked serious again as he faced Elizabeth. "To me, it's absolutely not the same. If even one step goes wrong, then what you eat won't be a perfect cake anymore." He paused, his golden eyes firm with conviction. "Maybe you'll think I'm stubborn or too traditional, but I hope you can understand my feelings. This," he declared, "is also my conviction as someone who believes in pure love. First, I want to propose to you, then get married, and only after that." Leping's face flushed red as he looked at Elizabeth, trying to explain himself with a mix of embarrassment and seriousness. "For the best result," he said, his voice low and hesitant, "the body and spirit must reach harmony together. Do you understand?" Elizabeth's crimson eyes softened as she looked at Leping. Her cheeks were faintly flushed, her voice calm yet tinged with hidden excitement. "Yes, Leping is right," she admitted to herself. "Just now, I almost let desire completely overwhelm my mind." However, she misunderstood everything. She thought Leping was using baking a cake as an example for this. What she meant was, those ordinary things, once guided by Leping's so-called divine hands, could shine brilliantly, just like a masterpiece. And this time, she thought, Leping will use me as the ingredient, and with his supreme art, he'll cook me. But suddenly, realization struck her. To be precise, from the very moment they met, Leping's cooking of her had already begun, step by step, all the way until now. Elizabeth's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of red, her lips curling into a faint playful smile as she looked at Leping leaning close. A strawberry rested lightly on her shoulder, cream sliding down her skin. "Don't move," he whispered softly, his voice carrying a teasing yet commanding tone. "Not a single step can be wrong. I want to savor you, only when your flavor has fully ripened to its richest." That was what she thought his words truly meant. With a faint, tender smile, Elizabeth whispered and told Leping that she understood. Leping's thoughts stirred as he looked at her, warmth flickering in his golden eyes. He couldn't believe she had actually agreed to his request. Even though she was the demon queen, Elizabeth was truly gentle, soft, and caring. Elizabeth, her expression tender yet resolute, reflected quietly to herself. Leping's words weren't wrong. Whether in body or spirit, his intention was to help her grow stronger. Indeed, Only this way could they conceive and raise the strongest child.